This is Austin and Matt. I'm Austin,
This is Matt.
and this week we watched Scout Pilgrim Takes Off, which is much different than Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. But we'll definitely see how it all went. But before we get into it, though, please like, subscribe if you like what you hear. Matt, tell me, what did you think about this new anime series?
Okay. I'll just say it right out, man. I really, really, really enjoyed this. I would maybe even say that I loved it to some degree.
Okay.
Um, I think I really, really like that it really does its own thing. I haven't read the original comics. From what I understand, it's nothing like the comics. It is nothing like the movie. It has become its own thing. I think they used the term at one point, the same characters, but the game has changed. And that is like the perfect way to kind of encapsulate this here, where it is like, here are all of these great characters that we all loved from this movie, or many people loved from this movie. And here they are all again, but in a totally different situation. Uh, I wish I could see more adaptations do weird things like this. Like this is just so it almost just feels like this huge evolution almost. Um where it almost feels like I wonder what we're gonna see next, like from Scott Pilgrim. Like what kind of weird thing could happen next? I just loved that. And I do think that this series takes the opportunity to acknowledge some of the issues with the movie. So I'm gonna say first two though. I freaking love Scott Pilgrim. It's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. I think I think it's great. I think the thing is like there are some weird things about Scott Pilgrim, like a 23-year-old kid dating a 17-year-old. That's not appropriate, right?
That's a problem.
The fact that the whole movie kind of, to some degree, treats Ramona Flowers like a prize to be won, that's a problem. And so I think the TV series is kind of acknowledging this. And that being said, too, I want to say like I've always actually believed about Scott Pilgrim. Like I don't think Scott Pilgrim's the main character of the movie. I don't think that anybody in the movie is the main character. I almost feel like Edgar Wright is almost the main character, and everything he's doing with editing and humor and action becomes kind of like the main character of the movie almost. Like it's like everything on display here is just like this amazing technical and comical prowess of this one guy, and who cares if Scott Pilgrim is not like a good guy at all, you know? But anyway, so this series really acknowledges that, I think, and then like wrestles with it. And I just almost wonder about how much Edgar Wright and Brian Lee O'Malley were involved here, and how much they were like, let's create something new and fun that doesn't have the same issues that, our previous work on this had. So I thought that was really cool. Um, this also had some really killer visuals. Like there were just moments where I was like, wow, that looks fantastic. There's that shot from the I think at the very beginning, from behind Ramona as she's like rollerblading through that dimension, and it just looks awesome. And there's just little moments here and there where I was stunned by its beauty.
Nice.
So yeah, really like this series. Really happy it's a thing that exists. Um, what did you enjoy about
Yeah. This whole series feels like a therapy session for the first one,
it? Yeah, yeah.
where it's like, all right, like I mean, not to spoil anything here, but like pretty much we go down a list of certain things, and then they're very forthright, just like, yeah, that's kind of a problem. And then it's more about like, oh, instead of like fighting over it, it's about, well, let's actually talk about this and work through, and like what was the opportunity. And it it's very therapeutic, and like they call themselves out on, as you mentioned before, like the things that are very inappropriate, and how that's not okay, and why that wouldn't make sense for a specific thing. And then I really just enjoyed how they found a way to do that, and then also um, kind of create like a little bit of like a mystery behind everything as well. So for me, like I honestly had no clue where this series was gonna go, and halfway through, I still was confused about what was going to be happening next, and it just kind of finds a way to push itself further as it goes on, and it keeps getting more interesting. And as we were at the very end piece, I was just like, wow, okay, that was definitely more than I bargained for. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was awesome, and I love that like the um, as you kind of mentioned, like Edgar Wright, obviously the director. There's like the parody character of Edgar Wrong, and they just continue to make jokes about that, but also staying like pretty true to what the original piece was, and acknowledging the major fan base that has developed over that, because the movie flopped incredibly,
Hmm. I
and
remember because I remember being like super duper bummed about it because I saw this movie like 2 or 3 times in the theater. I was like, this is a masterpiece. This is the movie people are going to be talking about in 20 to 30 years, and it made no money.
yeah, no money made. But then afterwards is where it came alive, and for them to be able to do this and put it on a platform that really gave them that opportunity to kind of show this through, I think it was pretty awesome, and a great full circle move for them. Um, yeah, I had a great watch, and I think there's like what 8 episodes to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, like that it went quick. So
yeah,
it was pretty awesome. Also, I want to make sure that I'm shouting out the music for it, the intro song. Um, at first, I was like, I've heard this song before, and it's like a classic like Japanese pop song, which is awesome.
it is okay. I thought from the moment I started, I was like, I feel like Austin's going to be mentioning the music here because it's significant to him somehow.
Yeah.
I just felt that it would be.
What's super funny though is like the transitions that are happening in the opening sequence are pretty much like shot for shot of a Beck music video.
Oh,
Um, so
interesting.
it's like this weird like fusion that they did. So fun stuff.
Cool.
But Matt, anything that you didn't enjoy about the series?
I did have some dislikes.
All right.
So the animation sometimes is a little janky,
Yeah.
which is weird because there are moments that look amazing and are phenomenal, and then there are moments that are kind of like, "Whoa, that did not make sense to my brain." But that being said, too, though, like I actually think that it was endearing in a lot of ways as well because this feels like it almost feels like a passion project. It feels like the animation at times was probably done on a bit of a shoestring budget, and so I'm it's like really forgivable. So even though like there were times where I was like, ooh, that did not look as great as a lot of what I usually see in the animation world, I still think that it was kind of warranted, I guess. And so although it's a dislike, it's not truly a dislike because I still really loved it. um Here's my probably my biggest problem is I think the voice acting is like off sometimes. If I had to guess why, and I could be wrong here, I think it's possible that this was something that was being recorded during the pandemic and all of these people were not together during this at all. And so just sometimes like the timing of their dialogue feels weird and off. Like I don't know what the explanation is here. That's just a guess. But there are just moments where I'm kind of like that just doesn't seem to like line up very well, you know. And these were all people who played these characters in a movie and did a fantastic job in the movie. I don't know if it was some inexperience in the world of voice acting on some of their parts or if it was like something was going on. I don't know. But there were just times where the voice acting felt maybe stilted, for lack of a better word. It was weird. I can't explain it. There was also one episode here that is very weak in my opinion. I thought there's an episode that's kind of I won't give too much away, but it's a little bit of a documentary format, and it just for me it was like a huge like it reminds me of that Stranger Things episode in season 2 where you meet the other girl. Uh, that was widely considered like the worst episode of that season and the series, where it just the pace it like ruins the pacing. Like I don't think it's quite as bad as that episode. That being said, too, I also like really like that episode and kind of defend that episode a lot of the time of Stranger Things. But this one kind of felt like that, where I was like, it felt out of place. The pacing was weird. The humor I couldn't exactly get into. So that was a problem for me. But here's all complaints that are like these aren't really complaints because I loved this and I thought it was great. Uh, but these things do exist. What issues did you have with it, Austin?
Yeah. Beautiful call out on the voice acting. That's actually where um, I was having the hardest time as well. Specific characters that stick out to me. Michael Cera, like all of his charm and like awkwardness that we get in that first movie, none of that is in this.
Okay,
Like
but I kind of liked that. Did you not like that?
I really wanted like I really liked his awkwardness from the
Oh,
first
see,
one
I
because like
found
his awkwardness with Ramona Flowers like it worked really well and I was like all right cool like this feels real but when they were giving lines together like one would be here one would be here and like they just didn't sync up and didn't have like a chemistry for me.
see, I actually felt like Scott and Ramona were actually way more believable as a couple in this one
Oh.
because I felt like Scott came off like he was still kind of like a little bit of a loser in the same way, but like I believe because I don't know, man. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, number one, is far and away better looking than Michael Cera. But I also just felt like even when in the first movie, I was like, she's like a super cool chick, and he is just Michael Cera. You know, I don't know. So I actually thought that their relationship was really believable because I felt like Michael Cera played a different kind of Scott Pilgrim this time. But anyway, sorry, keep going, keep
That's
going.
fair. That's fair. Uh, I would say G-Man also falls pretty short in this one too. Like he was a lot more eccentric and in the movie versus the series. But
That is true.
I will I'll hop off the high horse apparently because only you can talk about how the voice acting wasn't that great. Um,
No, keep going. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Austin.
no, no,
Forgive
no.
me.
That was just my main points. Is I felt like there's a lot of chemistry that was lost from
Yes,
character to
you're right.
character. Um, other thing that I'll mention is just similar to you, like the animation does feel a little off at times. The rigging of like this, I know they're going for the animation style, but like the scripted language for this is in English,
Mm-hmm.
and like the English lips aren't matching with the English words that are coming out here. So I wonder if there was like a little bit of like free versing that some of the actors got to do, and rather than fix the rigging, they just sent it and were like, whatever, it's fine, it's okay.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, that's super small as a whole. I think visual wise, everything it was great. It was fantastic. And maybe I'll visit it back again. We'll see. I would act. This is really weird to me, but I would love for them to have like a third project somewhere down the line, or maybe it's like a story of a story of a story. Like they just keep finding ways to push the narrative and just mess with this world.
Yeah.
The last shout out that I forgot to give at the beginning of this is that what I really enjoy about this series is that they give context to how Scott Pilgrim is actually able to defend himself in the series. Like in the
Yeah.
in the movie, it's just like oh he can suddenly fight, but then
Yeah.
in the series, like oh yeah he won this contest and like beat up all these people. Like he's totally cool and bad A about that. And it's like oh okay so he does have some credits to his name.
Yeah. I did think that there are two different fight scenes. There's a fight scene in the movie where Scott fights a stunt team, and it's the best fight scene in the whole movie. It's actually probably one of my favorite action scenes of all time. Actually, I really really enjoy that scene. And there's also a fight scene with stunt doubles in this, and it was also probably the very best one in the entire series. It was I really really enjoyed that. That was a ton of fun.
Yeah, good
Uh,
times, good times. Great.
yeah.
So Matt, you would recommend it?
Oh, and I mean, if you love the Scott Pilgrim movie, which I don't think I've ever met anybody who. Well, actually, I did. I had a friend who he saw it the night after I saw it, and he hated it. But he
Oh,
was also getting close to 60 at the time, and he said, "I think it's just
oh, that
I'm
guy.
just." He
All
said, "I'm
right.
just too old for it." He also saw. Speaking of, he also saw everything everywhere all at once and hated it as well. And he said I can't imagine anybody over the age of 30 liking it. And I was like, well, I'm 34. So I liked it. And he's like, okay, maybe
Read him and
35
weep.
or 40. But I think he's definitely someone who at his older age feels like he is kind of aged out of a lot of the weirder cinema that's coming out nowadays. So
The weirder cinema. All right, fair,
yeah.
fair.
So yeah.
Which really means that we're not making movies for all people anymore. I'm just kidding.
I guess. I don't know. Top Gun 2. You know, one of the biggest movies last year was 100% made for older people, but also very enjoyable for, a hip younger crowd like you and me
Hip
at
younger.
a
I don't
whole
know.
36 years old.
I know, dude. My hip kind of hurts a little bit, so maybe I'm not so
My,
hip.
my hip literally has been hurting. You're making me concerned now that I'm thinking about it. Uh, but anyway,
Oh, jeez. Well, hey, if you like
yeah.
what we heard, please like, subscribe. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
See you. Bye.